Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to NBS Fitness Radio, where we share stories of health and fitness success and valuable information to help you, our listeners, along your health and fitness journey. And I have an amazing story for you today. I have Allie Crumpton on the podcast. She joined NBS Fitness in February of this year, 2022, and she's had an amazing progression, transformation. She's lost over 70 pounds of body fat. She's really transformed her body, her fitness. She's reversed PCOS and overcome some kind of mental struggles as a result from a tough relationship. So her story is a great one to share because I think a lot of people can relate to some of the stuff that she's gone through. So without further ado, let's hear Allie Crumpton's story.
Get ready for a no BS approach to health and fitness. This is NBS Fitness Radio.
All right, I want to welcome Allie Crumpton to the NBS Fitness Radio podcast. Allie has been a member at NBS Fitness for how long?
Since February.
Awesome.
Of this
cool.
year, actually.
So coming up on almost a year.
Almost.
All right. And Allie has a really awesome story. She's had some great progress, and as our foundation for the podcast is to share stories of fitness success. Well, you have an amazing story to share. So first, just kind of lay the framework. Which was kind of your background with health and fitness prior to coming to NBS Fitness?
I've always been in sports. I was always that child. My brother went straight into guitar and art, and I was always in soccer and basketball. So I grew up in soccer. I played soccer for 14 years. So all the way through high school, actually, it was just soccer. Literally soccer.
Okay.
College,
playing competitive ball and school ball.
Yes.
Okay.
All of the above. All the rec leagues, all that, I was there.
Okay, yeah, got it.
Literally. But that's pretty much the only background that I actually had in fitness.
Did y'all do any weight training?
It was mostly
just sports.
On field. Yeah, no, not a lot of weight training actually.
Well, let me ask you this then. What was kind of what was your relationship with the thought of exercise and your body in high school or as a soccer player?
I had to do it. That's I went into it saying this is something I'm supposed to do. And it was just always there. 2 days in the summer, I had to go there. And so when
do you say had internally, I want to go there so bad. I feel like I have to do it. Or do you feel like there's outside pressure?
There was definitely outside pressure. I was expected to be there. And so I guess I kind of had a negative relationship with just health and fitness growing up. I was expected to perform a certain way. And so leading into college, I stopped because I didn't have that outside pressure anymore and started kind of putting that on the back burner for sure.
Got it. So you're kind of released from that one. Well, let me ask you this: where's the pressure coming from? Is paternal, peer pressure,
I want to say it was my parents and my team. It was those expectations, oh, Allie's in goal. She's got to perform. That's kind of how it was. Yeah. But I definitely put a lot of that. I think it wasn't translated properly, I guess, for me. I put a lot of that pressure on myself.
Got it.
To be perfect. So
then coming out of high school, you kind of released from this pressure.
Yeah.
And I see this happen. I've seen it happen.
Freshman 15.
Yeah, our peers just woohoo.
Yeah, this is nice. I can sleep in. I go to class whenever I want to. Yeah. The student union.
yeah.
Chick-fil-A. Okay. All the time.
I feel you. Okay. So coming out of high school, you going to college. Did you just stop completely, or were you doing any type of recreational stuff at that time?
I wasn't doing any recreational. I had expected to play ball for Mississippi State. But junior year of high school, I actually was injured pretty badly on the soccer field over in UNC. It was a rainy day, and when you're on the field, everything is super slippery, and the ball went flying and the girl came with it and we collided, knocked me out, put me in the emergency room, sprayed my neck, got a concussion, haven't been released since. So After that,
so that was your junior year?
That was my junior year of high school. And so that was the year before the scouts were able to contact us for.
And they didn't release you to go back and play soccer?
No, because they said when I stopped having those migraines, that's when I was able to, and I never really did. So that kind of took the soccer career off the books for me. And so the pressure was gone. And so in college, I just stopped.
Were you able to do anything senior year?
No, I was like practicing with them, but I wasn't actually able to play the games.
Oh, wow. That's rough. Okay. That's tough. So
I was their number one fan.
Yeah. Best team cheerleader. Okay. So then you go into college, and tell me what college is like from a health and fitness standpoint, and then kind of into your early 20s.
It was so intimidating because at Mississippi State, they have this like great like gym, they've got the basketball court, they've got the track that goes around the top. They've got all the free weights, the machines, but you walk in there and you have no idea what to do. And so
there's probably a bunch of people in there too.
There's a lot of people. a lot of college, little freshmen, walking in there like, oh, I'm here and I have no idea like what I'm looking at or who to talk to or who to ask for help.
Yeah.
So I stuck with the running around campus. So I didn't even go back to the gym. This is not for me. And so I went back to running around the campus, and which was nice. But when you're doing that like by yourself and you don't have anything to work towards, so I didn't have those soccer games or that type of like performance pressure to live up to. I just was running around.
Did you keep running, or did it kind of like fall off throughout college?
It fell off.
Okay.
It fell off. My third year of college, I transferred back here to Memphis, and it was the same thing. Moved back in with my parents for a little bit, and then moved back out, and so there was all these different like life changes going on, and it just the running, the gyms. I think I gave Planet Fitness a lot of my money monthly. Never showed up.
That's their business model.
Yeah.
So talk to me. So then, I just kind of had a couple of like hard things happen with the soccer injury. Then you went through some relationship struggles.
Right.
Are you willing to kind of share some of that and how that impacted your health and fitness?
Yeah. So, I am a self-diagnosed people pleaser.
Okay.
I'm a recovering people pleaser actually. And, my love language is acts of service.
Okay.
And so I do everything for everybody at all times, but I want to.
Yeah.
So in my relationships, I pour everything into the other person and I don't do anything for myself. And so I have been through a marriage, and in that marriage I was constantly, it was the other person. I never focused on myself. Yeah. And my health definitely was put on the back burner. And at that point I had been diagnosed with PCOS.
Right.
Didn't understand it at all. Had no idea what I was doing. All I know was a lot of women had struggled with losing weight with PCOS, but no one knows what to do at that point. So because I was so focused on, the other person, I never seeked help for myself. And I was constantly looking to, I don't know, just make his life better. It's like, how can I make his life better and not myself? And so I always invested into other people and never actually invested into myself.
Okay. So within that relationship, was there ever like discussions of health and fitness? Like what was like y'all's kind of views on that? Was there a desire to, or just kind of like, that's not who we are and that's not what we do? Or
it kind of like time just got away. Okay. Like, so it was a 6-year relationship. And he was really big into softball. Okay. And so a lot of that time was spent into the softball. And at that point,
like he's doing competitive softball. Yeah.
And so I was like his number one fan. I'm like there at all the softball fields, but at softball fields, like they don't offer healthy options for food, like
corn dogs and popcorn and Coke.
Literally. And I mean, Gatorade, where it's got like electrolytes, it's super high in sugar, and that's all that you have. So, health and fitness for me was never talked about.
Yeah.
Now for him, it was like, yeah, he had his games to work towards. He had that performance, that expectations, that pressure to be put on, but I never put that pressure on myself.
Yeah. I mean, so I guess, was there a desire, like I want to go work out, or just kind of like was there any awareness of like your health and fitness like throughout that time?
For me, yes. The awareness that I was gaining weight.
Okay.
And my clothes were a lot tighter. And
so that was like your metric was like, I'm putting these clothes on, they feel a little tighter. I'm going to go, oop, like I gained a few pounds.
Yeah. And like I see myself in the mirror every single day, so I don't really see that change.
Right.
But when I look at pictures and I see that like, oh, like this time last year versus this time, this last picture I had at this Thanksgiving, like I'm like, wow, I've gotten round. Like my face doesn't look like the same person at all. And so when I saw that, and so I think my heaviest was 270 pounds. And so when I was like, oh my gosh, I'm pushing 300 pounds, that's when I was like, this is a lot.
That was the trigger of like, uh-oh.
Like, yeah.
This is the thing that makes me go, oh, I need to stop. Or, that was the awareness moment of like, oh.
Yeah. And the
this
rate,
is not good.
The rate at which it was increasing, it was kind of a lot. And as I was figuring some stuff out within that relationship, I was like, you know what? Like, I don't need to, put up with this. Mm-hmm. I need to start choosing myself over other people and, investing in myself and actually caring about myself, I guess. I was like, this is something that falls into it, the health and the wellness.
So tell me a little bit more about the PCOS. One, kind of like, what is it? For anyone who doesn't know.
PCOS stands for polycystic ovarian syndrome. And so it's it's a very difficult condition to understand, even from someone who has it and who's been diagnosed. A lot of times, the OBs, they'll say, okay, they'll put you on like birth control or something like very like hormone therapy or something. They'll kind of send you off. So I was on medication for about a decade, I think. And all it was just like some hormone therapy and some other stuff. But, it is a type of insulin resistance. It can create, cysts on ovaries, which can be very painful, especially when they rupture.
Yep.
And they can also cause, lots of other problems.
Gotcha.
I guess, leading on.
So, I guess what were kind of some of the symptoms that you were experiencing that like led you to kind of like seek a diagnosis
of that? Lots of pain in the abdomen, just super uncomfortable. Yep. When I kind of realized, like, it was back in college when I was actually diagnosed, and I had some blood work done, and she was like, yeah, your hormones, like all this kind of stuff looks kind of odd. So I'm just going to throw you on some like, birth control.
Got it.
And we'll go from there.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, this is great. And so that itself isn't great when it comes to like gaining weight. So those types of medications will pack the pounds on so fast. Mm-hmm. And after I stopped that and actually started like, getting outside more and moving around, that's when things started kind of fall in place.
Got it. So, with regards to like your health and fitness, like how does PCOS like impact all of that?
I have to look at food a little bit differently. Yeah. So the types of sugar that I focus on is a little different. So I go less towards like processed foods, obviously. Yep. Like, so it's a little more, organic. And so I'm, the chicken, the salmon, but I'm a little less on fruits. And I have to be careful the kinds of starches that I'm actually eating. And so after focusing more on that and the types of sugars that I was consuming, I'm like no longer pre-diabetic. Like my blood sugar is like dropped and everything's really leveled out, which is awesome. Great.
So yeah, I'd like to kind of explore that a little bit more, because what I find is common to happen in people is they make it a diagnosis, and I've seen this happen in multiple women with PCOS. Mm-hmm. They'll get a diagnosis of that, or it could be something else, and then that kind of becomes like the justification for all negative health outcomes.
Right.
They tend to kind of like find this identity in it. Mm-hmm. And then just kind of like that's their scapegoat for everything.
Yeah.
I got PCOS, and so like, I'm having trouble losing weight, or I got PCOS, and
I definitely did that.
Yeah.
I mean, it was easy.
Yeah.
I mean, no one wants to take the hard way out. They want to find something easy. They want to find that comfort, and they are given that diagnosis, and they're like, oh, this is why I feel this way.
Yeah.
So I'm going to sit in it,
Yeah.
and I'm going to continue because I don't want to change it. Like, there's a reason I'm feeling this way, and we're just going to, that's it. But I mean, it was hard. Like, I did a lot of research myself on, trying to figure out like what types of meals were PCOS friendly and all this kind of stuff. But honestly, like, it's the basics. It's like, just get food that's grown from the ground. Like, don't get the trans fat, all that kind of stuff.
Actual food.
Yeah. Like, eat your fruits, eat your veggies, but just be careful with the sugar that you intake.
Which I mean, what is a good framework for all people, regardless of your your health status.
Right.
But in an individual with PCOS, it's the impacts of intelligent, good choices versus poor choices from a nutritional standpoint are just more pronounced.
Right.
It's like, if you don't have PCOS, you're obviously not going to feel great or be super healthy if you're consuming a bunch of like processed sugars, but someone with PCOS is going to experience those negative effects at a higher magnitude.
Right. I ate lean cuisines for the longest time and I was like, oh, calorie deficit. That's all it is, just a calorie deficit. And so I was eating the lean cuisines. I was like the healthy smart meals, like you pop in the microwave for like 4 minutes, and I was not getting any progress eating those whatsoever.
Is there do they know the cause of PCOS at all?
Some say it's genetic. I don't really think they know where it's coming from. It's definitely reversible as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
Which
would make sense if it's a insulin sensitivity.
Yeah.
That's
definitely part of it.
Yeah. Much like, type 2 diabetes is like, you can change the sensitivity of your insulin receptors through nutritional change.
Right. Which is definitely one of my goals from the very beginning. Talking to Jesse, I was like, listen, this is what I got. I'm trying to figure it out.
So when did you like have that switch from like identifying as like, or kind of finding your identity in that like PCOS and using that as kind of like an excuse to going like, no, like this is something I can't overcome.
Honestly, when I started seeing results,
okay. Yeah.
That's really what, like, when I was like, oh, okay. Like, the scale is in a downward trend. Like, this is doable. And then it just kept going, and I was like, this is great. Like, I think I'm figuring it out. But I mean, and it's not like just straight down, I mean, there's obvious, influxes, but
it's kind of like knowing like, oh, I'm seeing the results of my actions. So I know that that just kind of empowered you to continue to move forward. Okay. So, what was like the final trigger, and like what was kind of like that initial step? What was the thing that made you like, all right, I'm starting today, and what did you do?
It was definitely when I decided I need out of this marriage. Like, I need a divorce. Which is a really hard decision to make in the first place, because it's so like, marriage these days is idolized. Like, you have to get married. You have to do life a certain way. You have to be, you have to be keto. You have to do this. You have to do that. Like, everyone does it. You got to do it. So when a lot of things went on in the marriage that just, both me and him, we were both in a very unhealthy place in our lives. I was like, you know what? Like, I can't pour into others if I'm empty myself.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I have to start focusing on myself. I have to stop the people pleasing, choose myself, decide how, when, with whom that I need to do this with, you know, but I need to get help. And so reached out to Cheyenne. Okay. We've been friends for a little while, but reached out to her, or she reached out to me actually. I was like, hey, like, getting out a little SOS with like my Snapchat or something like that. Yeah. I was like, hey, kind of hit a plateau here. Don't really know what to do. Like, has anyone done anything, like any recommendations? And she was like, hey, come try out NBS, my gym. And I was like, okay, great. So.
Okay. So, but you had lost a pretty big chunk of weight prior to joining NBS. So what'd you do during that period?
I just started moving more, honestly. And I started working on my happiness.
Okay.
So I was like, you know what? I am never going to be happy with if I lose weight, if I, look a certain way. I'm never going to be happy if I'm not happy with myself right now. So I really started focusing on myself in the moment. 270 pounds. I was like, you know what? No, I'm going to spend more time with myself. I'm going to date myself. Like, we're going to do this. And so, as that happened, I did, I was trying to eat better. That's when I was doing the research for the PCOS, trying to eat cleaner. Taking my dog for walks, went to Herb Parsons on some, little hikes here and there. Found some friends to go around, Shelby Farms, just to walk, literally just walking more.
Just walking more, just being more active.
Moving more.
And you made cleaner. And where is this when you were eating kind of the lean cuisines and everything?
Yeah.
Okay. So, what was your diet before that?
Cheap and fast.
Okay. So you're kind of going from
inconvenient.
Yeah, like fast food type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you're going kind of fast food, like very highly processed, very high caloric stuff to still pretty highly processed, but less calories.
Yeah.
And then exercising and starting to just be more active and get out there.
Yeah, okay. And I wasn't really, I tried, I think I did it all really fast at first. Yeah. I was like, I'm going to do the MyFitnessPal. I'm going to do this. I'm going to track my calories. But I had no idea, exactly what I needed to be eating. I had no idea what my caloric intake should be.
Right.
Did the little MyFitnessPal test at the beginning, and it was like, hey, what's your activity level? How many pounds a week do you want to lose? And it was like, oh, well, the most, of course. Why not? Right. And so I think it hit me at 1,400 calories a day, and I was like, 270 pounds, 1,400 calories. Absolutely not. I wasn't a small girl. I needed to eat. That was just gonna. That just wasn't healthy.
Did you eat that for any period of time?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was hungry.
Yeah. No, so, and then what happened? Because this is something I've been talking about a lot. So you were eating 1,400? Yeah.
Binge.
How long could you go at the 1,400 before you'd binge?
4 days.
Okay.
It was 1,400 calories a day. And then I was like, no, this is it. And it was always and at that point I was living by myself. When you go from, being with somebody for 6 years and then suddenly you're by yourself. Yep. And so I got in my feelings a little bit and, then you just binge everything.
Yeah.
Everything in the pantry.
Yeah. So, this has been a kind of a common topic, and it's something I've been discussing in my writings, but for so many people, what ends up happening is, we know that this is a math equation. You have to decrease, you have to consume less than you are outputting if you want to lose weight, right?
Right.
But what ends up happening is, because when we first start the journey, our output's pretty dang low.
Yeah.
We don't have necessarily the schedule structure to go and work out hours a week. And then in those individual workouts, just from a fitness standpoint, but also a effort standpoint, we're not quite used to putting in the effort that would be required to have a high caloric burn workout. As I'd like to point out to people, is go bike 100 calories on the Echo bike and then
oh my gosh, no,
and report back to me, right?
No.
And so what ends up happening is we use the other side of the equation, which is how can I eat less? Well, I want to lose this as fast as possible. How can I eat the lowest calories possible?
Right.
And we drop ourselves to some crazy low number.
It was bad.
Which I tend to tell people, if you want a really pretty solid basement level of calories you should probably consume, it's going to be around your body weight times 10. Mm-hmm. If you're a pretty high body fat level, we can kind of go lean body mass times 10. So let's say at 270 pounds, 2,700 calories might be a little bit high, but let's say your lean body mass was, 200, 210 or something like that. Our bottom level would be 2,100 calories. Yeah. But you're eating 700 calories less than that.
Yeah.
So
plus trying to walk more and actually do some cardio and everything.
So what ends up happening is your body responds to this in one of two ways, and usually both ways. When you're consuming such a low caloric amount, you actually decrease activity. Mm-hmm. Most of the time, unconsciously or subconsciously. Yeah. You just do less.
Lay around.
You're tired. You don't have the energy to do less. Or then your body's like, screw this, dude. You get us some daggum calories. And so then you have the binge. And so what ends up happening is like, if you've been in a 500 calorie deficit for 6 days and you're doing great, but then you have an emotional kind of trigger point and you go eat 3,000 calories of Mexican that night, you basically undid 6 days of caloric deficit.
Right. And it was bad. And I was tracking my insulin as well at that point, because that was one of the main things that I wanted to, Were
you giving yourself insulin?
No. I was just taking my blood sugar. I'm sorry.
Sugar. I was like, okay,
sorry.
Got it.
I was tracking my blood sugar, and it was just crazy because, I mean, and all the diets these days, they're all just fads. Like, essentially, like you can't hop onto the next bandwagon. And females, that's all they want. Like, they want to look a certain way. And so when I was 270 pounds, I dropped down to about like 1,400 calories and would binge eat like 2 times a week, probably. And so I had before I came here, I had lost like 30 something pounds.
Are you still doing that 1,400 calorie? No, so you gotta like, screw this.
No, it was wild because I had lost like 30 something pounds. And I think when I was 270 pounds, I think my body fat percentage was like 49.
Okay.
Like 49, 50%. And I was like, wow, I am half fat. Right. Like, I think that was one of the triggers too. I was like, that's a lot of fat. Yeah. And so, when I started here, I was 236, I think. And I was, I think I was like 100 and I don't remember the specifics, but so
I think so you said you were 230. Oh, you're asking
when I started.
When 236 when you first started. Yes. You were trying to figure out what your body fat percentage was.
I think it was 37. I think
so. Lost 35 pounds and whatever that is, 13% body fat.
Yeah,
so.
And I think now, so when I first started, Jesse was like, "Hey, let's just try like very broad," which is fantastic because I have a tendency to like go 1,000%, and then I'm done. Like a month later, I'm like, okay, I'm good. You know, like I'll totally burn out. And so she was like, "No, let's do this. Let's super vague." And so we started doing like a little bit of the, 4 ounces of chicken and like very like vegetables, all that kind of stuff.
What made you decide like, I need some nutrition coaching? Like, obviously,
I had no idea what to do.
Like, obviously, you reached out and said, "Okay, I've kind of hit a plateau. I need some help." Cheyenne said, "Hey, come talk to us." Yeah,
honestly, in February when I met with Hoppy, I kind of told him my little, snippet of my story, and he was like, "Yeah." So I said, "I have no idea what to eat. Yep. I don't know what to eat. I don't know how to move. Yeah, help." Yeah, and he was like, "Great, I know someone," and I was like, "Awesome." And so I met with Jessie like 2 days later.
Very cool. That's awesome. Okay,
so she actually got me on the right track.
Very cool,
honestly.
So, so you got me like, hey, I went as far as I can on my own, which, I mean, one, that's a testament, like you're able to make a really big jump, just kind of like starting something. I mean, I think like the message I would tell to people is like, sometimes people go, you know what? Like, oh man, the idea of like changing my whole diet or working out 3 days a week or doing those burpees, like that's such a big jump. I can't conceptualize it. And it's just like, okay, well then make the jump you need to get halfway to being like, like then just start going walking. And if you can start walking, then maybe running will seem like a doable step. And once you start running and that's a doable step, then maybe coming to the gym twice a week will seem like less of a big jump. Right. And then going twice a week to 3 is less of a big jump, so on and so forth. So, which
is pretty much what my like path has actually been. Like I started out just getting off the couch, like just doing it. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to start like buying groceries instead of like going out to eat all the time. And then I was moving and buying groceries and then did everything I could. But I had isolated myself at that point. Okay. And so I was like, I'm doing this on my own. I have I did have people in my corner. Like my mom and dad were definitely in my corner, of course, love them. Shout out. But I felt like I was doing this by myself. Like I didn't have anybody else on this with me. And so that's when I reached out and I was like, hey, like help, I need some help. And Cheyenne said that. And so in February I started with Hoppy and Jessie and started out doing like 2 to 3 times, I think.
Did you do kickstarts and then go into group?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Within like 2 weeks. Like I had finished my Kickstarts in like 2 weeks and then went straight into group. And that's pretty much all I've done is like the group.
Well, that's the path we put a lot of people on. Yeah. It's 2 weeks and then you get in the group. That's the structure.
Fantastic.
So talk about like some of your big kind of, what was it like to kind of that's a definitely a culture shock, or just maybe kind of like a physical shock to go from like I'm walking to like group classes. But talk about kind of like what that experience was like.
Well, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Like I didn't look you guys up. I didn't do any research. I was like, I like Cheyenne. I trust Cheyenne. Let's go. And she was like, great, sign up. And I was like, okay, cool. And so after a couple classes, someone was like, oh yeah, CrossFit. And I was like, wait.
Is that what I'm doing?
What? They were like, yeah, or a fundamental fitness, honestly, or something. And I was like, is this literally like, did I just literally go from hiking to like CrossFit-esque classes? And that was definitely like, okay, cool. Like I can do this. Like, this
but I was gonna say like, you did, and you can do it.
Yeah.
And so like, what would you say to someone who, because there are people who will say like, oh, I can't do that CrossFit stuff. Yeah. What would you say to them?
I almost kind of laugh because I'm like, these are movements that you literally use every day. Like, honestly, I use at least one movement a day properly now. But it's been so cool to see like, oh, you know, back in February, in my Kickstarts, I think my deadlift was like 150. Yeah. And now I think I hit 315 for a couple. And so it's so
doubled
fun.
It. That's
it's
crazy.
So fun to see that kind of stuff. And
you can see yourself making objective progress.
Yeah. And like I looked back, I think on like some pictures or something, and I was like, my form was bad. But it's been a big growth. And I mean, I didn't think I could do it. I didn't know that I was even doing it. Honestly, I had no idea, but it's been so fun.
I think that one of the things that just has helped you just be so successful is like, you didn't have a whole lot of preconceived notions. You're just like, I trust you guys to tell me what to do. And like, I honestly feel like the more people who would just do that, like that's your best path to success. You're the expert. You tell me what to do. And like, hey, if you can do that, then we will for sure get you.
And I'm such an anxious person. Yeah. Like I have the worst social anxiety like ever. And I joke around and I'm like, oh, exposure therapy, you know, like you might as well just do it, you know, and it's been great. And that's pretty much what I did. I didn't know a single person. Like Cheyenne was at Cordova. And so I showed up to Collierville and I'm like, hey guys, like I'm new here, you know, what's your name? But I just did it. And that's the hardest part of a fitness journey. And some people are like, oh, it's in the kitchen, you know, like that's the hardest part is the diet, or the hardest part is like, oh, you can lift like 300 something off the ground. I'm like, well, yeah, but like, the hardest part of the entire thing is doing it on the days I don't want to.
Yeah. Showing up and being consistent.
Showing up, for yourself.
How important has the social aspect of it been to you?
Oh my goodness. You have to surround yourself with like-minded people if you're going to be successful with anything. Part of the reason why I had plateaued or like wasn't getting any more success when I was doing it on my own was because I was doing it on my own. Yeah. So the social aspect, I've met so many good friends. Yeah. It's been fantastic, but that's been a huge part of my success. And it's been fun because I look forward to going to the classes. Even when, you know, I'm exhausted from work, like I show up because we've got this little, group chat called the Barbell Baddies, and we show up and we're like, you know what, you know, guys, like this is just gonna be a day I show up. Like I'm not feeling it, but we're like, yes, but you showed up. So it's been huge.
And I think, like the company you keep makes such a big deal because, like, if you're with the right people, you can kind of talk yourselves into doing anything. Mm-hmm. And so, like, if you're with certain people, you're gonna talk yourselves into going and skipping the workout and going to consume some calories.
Exactly.
You're the right people. Where like there's 5 of y'all, whatever. Like if one of you guys is like, no guys, like come on, let's go do it. Then everyone's like, okay, let's go do it.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah,
there's
I'll
been plenty of reasons for nights where my Steph out in Collierville, Steph will be like, hey, are you going tonight? And I'm like, are you going tonight? Yeah. And she's like, yeah. I said, okay, then I'm going. Yeah. We're going. So it's huge to have that like-minded, you know, community to have that success.
And I think, I share with people that for a lot of the people that come to our gym, these are the only people they engage with on a daily basis who give a shit about their health and fitness.
Literally.
So for a lot of times, their entire family doesn't care. Every single person they work with does not care about their health and fitness.
Yeah.
And so you can imagine what it's like kind of going through that every single day and then trying to go to a gym where you just put your headphones in. No one knows your name.
Yeah.
No one's going to give you a high five. No one's going to tell you, hey, I'm proud of you.
Right.
And so like, and in a lot of those situations, people just are somewhat oblivious to like how they stack up health and fitness wise. You can kind of just look across the sea of everyone else and be like, yeah, kind of, we all look the same, feel the same, like kind of speak the same, do the same stuff. Like I'm good.
Right. There's none of that pressure.
Yeah. I would like, and I think that's, that's something to consider like with our society is like, well, hey, look, you're looking out across the sea of like the least healthy people that have ever existed.
Right.
Like I get it. Like sometimes people's standards for health and fitness is like, I'm not 500 pounds.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that is the extreme version. And like when we look at the average American, I think but people kind of like fail to realize like those people are incredibly unhealthy.
Yeah.
And lack a significant amount of fitness. So like that shouldn't be the standard that you compare yourself to. But then when you're exposed to like what a true standard of like health and fitness would be,
right.
then it can be shocking. Like, oh, crap.
Definitely an awakening.
Oh crap, and it can be scary, and so there can be a resistance to like, I think I want to kind of stay in the pain I know because that's the pain I don't know,
right?
And that looks crazy. So hence why it's important to have like a group of people.
Yes.
That says like, hey, we're not crazy. We're actually really fun. And we'd love to have you part of our community.
Well, they're normal people.
Yeah.
Like when people say like, oh, I've got a personal trainer or, I do like, CrossFit type of workouts. They think, monster people, but I'm like, no, like it's literally people just like me that are there.
It's people of all walks of life, all ages. But the commonality they have is that they've said like, this is important to me. And I know that I can't flourish if my physical well-being isn't taken care of.
Right.
So I'm going to make the commitment.
And everyone's going to get a workout. Everyone's going to get a good workout. And that's what I love the level method because that's what it is. And I'm like, whether you're just now starting or you've been doing this for like 6-7 years, everyone's going to be dead by the end.
Right. Well, and so maybe share a little bit about that. Like, how has the level method like impacted your progress?
It has given me that pressure that I had basically back in soccer.
Yeah.
Like I had to win.
Okay.
Like I had to win the game, you know? And so the level method itself, I think I started out in like orange or something, which I was just excited not to start out in yellow. If I'm being honest. I was like, yes, I'm in orange. I was consistently doing like the orange workouts. And so then I popped up to blue and like now I'm doing some purples here and there. And so like I'm so excited and it's given me that thing to look forward to. Yeah. Like that, not like the pressure, I guess, but just something to work for.
It's improvement. You can see your improvement.
Literally.
It's turning fitness, it's making fitness objective.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, the reality is it's like, okay, how long do I need to exercise? It's like, well, now till you die. So we better come up with
as long as you can.
Yeah, but we better come up with a method and a pathway that allows you to continue to make progress and enjoy that process and see a roadmap of like, here's where I was, here's where I am now, and that's where I want to go. And then like you're going to travel that path a much longer period of time.
Right.
And you feel like you have control over that path. It's not there's not a single metric like the scale. Like, here's the deal is like the scale at some point hits a bottom number. Like it can't infinitely go down.
I started gaining weight in this because Jesse started me out on, I think like I was doing like 1,700 calories. And then I was like, Jesse, I'm getting kind of hungry like during the day. And this was like just a couple months ago. Yeah. And she was like, okay, well, let's like up your calories. And like the scale started going up, but my body fat percentage was going down and I was gaining more muscle. Right. And so that's when I realized, okay, like the scale is not something, you know, to actually track your like physical health, I guess, or like just wellness, you know, the scale is not a good number for that, because as I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh my gosh, it says I gained 2 pounds, but I gained 2 pounds of muscle in like, you know, a month and a half. And so that's scale is definitely not, but the level method, the fact that like, oh, okay, well, it says I gained 2 pounds, but like I just jumped a level, you know, like that's really cool to see.
Well, then that's why we can objectively say like you're getting better, because if we're kind of like laying it all out there, it's like, well, the goal is to gain muscle, lose body fat, and move across that board. Right. Well, you did that. Yeah. You gained muscle, you lost body fat percentage, and you went across that board. And that's the importance of having like a multitude of metrics that you can track. And I think for people who are just kind of doing like your typical fitness routines, maybe they're in the routine of like I go walking every night, or I go to the gym and I do my routine. They're missing out on like progress, right? Because they're just doing the exact same thing they've always done. Yeah. And eventually that becomes somewhat hard to either sustain, because you don't get to see your progress every single day. Like the thing I love about the level method and the InBody is like we get to see our progress every single day. And that just fuels you to be like, okay, well.
And you're not going to grow if you're comfortable, if I'm being honest. Like, hence the exposure therapy. Like, you got to get out and do things that you're not comfortable with in order to actually gain some sort of, like, experience, first of all, but also, like, just grow.
Well, and I think so the level method does a lot of great things. One, it provides an assessment. And, you know, we kind of have a joke in amongst the staff. If people are hesitant about starting, we'll say like, do they need to think they're fit, or do they need to think they're unfit? Right. Meaning some people are so hesitant to start because they're like, I can't do this.
Not yet.
And so we're like, the Kickstarters is a great opportunity to go like, you can. Yeah. Look, hey, you thought you were going to be white and everything, and you're orange. Right. Hey, that's freaking awesome. You're only 3 levels up. Or, hey, you are white. That means you can do the workouts. Like,
you're here.
Every single day there's a white workout, and you can do that. We showed you that you can do this. Like, so that's one aspect of it. But the other aspect of it is like some people tend to go like, I'm good. I do my walks every day, or I go to I won't name a gym, but I go to that commercial gym every day. And it's like, I totally get that. But like the level method assessment is going to show you where your strengths and where your weaknesses are. And so it sounds like the flip joke is like, do they need to think they're unfit? They're like, hey, look, you're doing pretty good, but this area, Right. Hence why you need to do this. So yeah, you're never going to grow or get better.
If you don't push yourself, for sure.
If you're not made aware of where you stand, where you could go, you know, and then are encouraged internally and externally to say like, I want to be better. Right. You know, which I think that's what like human flourishing is like, it's self-improvement, and then the second order impacts of that is improvements outside of yourself to those around you. Right. Like when you get better, you can help other people get better. Yes. So, what are you most proud of accomplishing since you joined? Like what's some things that stand out?
All my non-scale victories, like my insulin or my blood sugar leveling out, and my resting heart rate went from, because I guess my watch takes it, went from almost 80 beats per minute to down to 64 in eight months.
And that's bonkers. I mean, resting heart rate is such it's two things. One, it's a really great measurement tool for like your cardiovascular fitness. Yeah. So it's like with cardiovascular disease being like basically the major killer of people in the United States, it's like if your resting heart rate's up there, like that's not good.
Like I remember taking it even back in college, like when I had my like medical classes, and they're like, "Oh, let's take your resting heart rate," and I'm like, why is mine so high? Yeah. Like 80 beats per minute. Everyone's like, oh, 70. And I'm like, mine's like 83. Yeah. Am I doing this right? But I even took it again the other day, and it was 64,
Right.
and it's solid.
Well, it is a great measurement tool of your cardiovascular fitness. So obviously you've improved so much. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a genetic component to it.
Yes.
But also, it's also a great measurement tool of your stress levels.
Right. Oh, true. That is true. I have been working on that.
So if you tend to be a anxious person all the time, you're probably going to have a pretty high resting heart rate. But and you can see from your, not just your physical development, but like your emotional, mental development as well. It's like,
yeah,
like your body is in less of a anxious state. It's
all the time.
It's calmed down.
Yeah.
Which there's so many amazing health benefits that occur from that.
Right.
But we can measure that in a resting heart rate. So what other things stick out in your mind?
I'm off all medications now.
That's huge.
Yeah. So I was taking like 6 pills a day for about a decade, and I'm not taking any.
What? Okay. So when or talk to me about that with regards to like your relationship with your doctor and like how that went. Did you go to the doctor and they're like, hey, you don't need to take this anymore? Or were you like, I don't think I need to take this anymore? And they were like, like, how did all that happen?
My last appointment was actually back in like June or July, maybe. Yeah. And I told her, I'm like, yeah, I've actually lost some weight. And at that point I had lost a lot of weight.
I mean, they take your weight and I'm sure she can see you. Was she not?
And she was like, she's not like new, but like she looked at my chart and she looked at me and she was like, oh my gosh, you're right. What'd you do? And I was like, I go to NBS. I'm like, I do CrossFit like classes. And she was like, oh, how do you like it? And she asked me all about it and all that kind of stuff. And she actually said there's been a lot of improvement with women who are doing weight training when it comes to PCOS. And so she was totally on board with it. So she asked me, do you think you need this medication? And I said, no.
I don't think so.
Yeah. I said, no, I think I'm good. And she was like, great. That's fantastic. Huge. So she was very receptive to all of that, which is great. Super cool. And I haven't had, I'm continuing to test like my blood sugar and everything. And I don't feel the need to ever have it anymore, actually.
What does spike your blood sugar? I mean, I'm assuming you go drink a Coke, it would probably spike your blood sugar. But.
Yeah. Just sugary foods, honestly. Yeah. Which.
Do you wear a GCM or are you like finger pricking?
No, I'm finger pricking.
Okay.
Just like a Walmart test.
Yeah. How often do you do that?
How what?
How often do you check blood sugar?
I do it I don't do it that often anymore, honestly. But at first,
probably like figured out what you kind of know what to expect.
I kind of, and like I can feel it too now, which is kind of odd. But I found when I was eating those super low calories, and my blood sugar would drop, that's when I would want to binge. And so even starting out from the beginning, I was doing 3 meals a day, and that's still, my blood sugar was dropping in between. So we went to 5. And so 3 meals a day and 2 snacks in between. And I have no cravings.
That's huge.
I don't have the urge to binge or anything like that. And so I learned that like in a couple months in. I was like, Jesse, I'm kind of doing this. Like, she was like, okay, let's try this. And I was like, okay, great. And like, it was perfect. Like,
I think one of our values as a company is like metric driven. Like we make our decisions based off of metrics, and so that business wise, but also like it comes to like client goal wise. And so it's a big ask to ask most clients to check their blood sugar. So that's not something we typically do. But what I get from that is like 2 things. One, there is no one size fits all diet. So like the thing is, it's like, if you're like, well, I'm going to try this. I'm like, that is not the solution. If there was, we would all do it and it would just be easy peasy. Right. But everyone's body responds differently. And so the more data we have, the more intelligent decisions we can make and say like, well, what happens when we make this change? Oh, that we saw this number change. Okay, cool. We know that worked well. And then we can find ourselves like the perfect nutritional plan or training plan that works for you. Right. Which is, I think that's awesome. I also it's interesting to me to think about like how our medical, and you're obviously in the medical role, but somewhat of a flip side, because you guys do prescribe movement as medication.
Right. Yeah.
But most of the data we know is that like exercise and proper nutrition is a better medication, is a better solution to most health and fitness or most health problems. And obviously fitness problems, but most health problems versus a pharmaceutical medication.
Right. So right now, my one doctor visit a year is like to do my labs, and then I see where it's at, and then I kind of go on from there. So I just did some labs, and everything looked great. Like my vitamin D was kind of low, and so I'm trying to change things around for that. But
I mean, that's an easy fix.
Literally,
vitamin D.
Yeah, literally. But everything else looked fantastic, and so whereas like 2 years ago it was not, and like I was getting liver scans and all that kind of stuff. So
what are all they? I mean, so beyond like your traditional CBC and like cholesterol, like are they testing anything specific from a PCOS standpoint?
Thyroid stuff. Other lots of letters that I don't understand.
Did they put you on like thyroxine or any type of like thyroid medication?
No.
Okay, so you never got on that.
No, never got on that. But they're very like my thyroid levels. It runs in my family, so like thyroid cancer and that kind of stuff like actually runs in my family, and so those got kind of up there. Yeah. A couple years ago, those were a little iffy. I had a very fatty liver at one point. They did like an ultrasound on that, and I haven't done another ultrasound again. I kind of don't want to, but. As far as everything else though, there was some, like my iron was just a little bit low and my vitamin D was low, but everything else looked great. And it was hormone levels, thyroid,
the liver enzymes.
Liver enzymes were good.
All good.
They were good. Yeah. They were very high a couple of years ago, but they were good. And, then your traditional CBC. Yeah. And yeah.
Well, again, it's just another like, observation that like, hey, you want to turn these numbers around? Exercise and proper nutrition.
Right.
Like treating your body the way it's meant to be treated and letting it do what it's meant to do.
Right.
Is going to respond properly to that.
And I never started this like to look a certain way. You know, like some people are like, oh, I just want to look like this. And honestly, because I started out saying like, no, I'm just going to take care of myself. Like I'm not doing this to become a size 12, you know, I'm not doing this to fit into a certain dress or anything. Like I decided like, no, I'm just going to take care of myself. I'm going to choose myself. I said 2022 is about me. Yeah. And we're going to do this. And that's when, I mean, just eating right and exercising and focusing on different aspects of wellness, you know, the weight has fallen off.
What do you think, from a female's perspective, why is the scale or the physique aspect such a driving force?
I mean, social media doesn't help.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest. Instagram, everything is image-based these days, visual-based. Everyone wants to look a certain way. And so everybody's influencers are like, you know, Kim Kardashian or, you know, those types of, you know, skinny, they want to look a certain way, but they're obviously been under the knife.
Let me say this as a male, that Kim Kardashian's 100% undateable. 100%. She's the last person I would want to spend any time in a room solo with. Regardless of how she looks. Her personality is one in which it completely distracts from her physical looks. So, I mean, that's kind of like my message to like young men. I was like, hey, look, there's a lot of girls that look good, but you don't want to spend more than 2 seconds in the room with them.
You gotta focus on other things, so like the physical aspect of how, you know, I mean, just the way someone looks. There's way more to that person, and that's what people idolize these days. Is literally how you look and you know, physique, which it does have its place. Like there are, you know, those bodybuilder, you know, that kind of stuff, but it's definitely an idol in everyone's life right now. I think especially because of, you know, everything is so digitalized.
What's the message? I mean, like, what's the message that turns a woman away from that desire and towards focusing on health or it's focusing on it from like the health, fitness, wellness standpoint? Because like, I'm not telling people like, hey, look, there's aspects of your physique you control. There's aspects you can't, but form follows function. So if you want to look like someone who exercises, or like if you want to look like someone who's exercised for 5 to 10 years, guess what you do? You exercise and eat right for 5 to 10 years. You'll look like it. It's so like, how do you, what's the message what's the impactful message that makes someone shift away from just the physique aspect?
I mean, you just have to love yourself. And as cheesy as that sounds, you're going to be the only one in your corner for your entire life. Like, people come and go. You're going to have people that are there for a long time, but you're the only person that is going to be in your corner. Yeah. And so you have to take care of that person. And that's what turned me away from it all, because once I started actually like paying attention to myself, that's when I decided, okay, I need to actually take care of myself in all aspects.
I didn't think about it. It's just like the physique goal is centered around other people.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I want to be attractive to other people versus saying like, no, like, I love myself. And so I'm focused on, this is for me. Right. I'm doing this for myself, not for others, because I have no control over like how someone else perceives me.
Exactly.
I want to control how I perceive myself. So that, I mean, maybe that's the impactful message.
Exactly. I mean, you can't do this for anybody else. If it's going to stick, you have to do it for yourself. Because like I said, people come and go. Like events, if you do this, like, you know, for your wedding, like the wedding's going to pass. Yeah. And now what, you know? So you got to be there for yourself. And
I've actually suggested the opposite approach. When I got married, my joke was like, I'm trying to put on as much weight as I can for my marriage, so that in 20 years when people see my wedding photos, like, you look great. You look great.
Yeah, literally.
I was like, don't like peak for that one day that's like stuck in time and everyone's comparing it to that.
So remember when I was that small?
I was like, that's a terrible strategy. Well, okay, so obviously this has been like a very like transformational year for you. Yeah. At the beginning of this year, you probably wouldn't have had the same goals as you do now, because now you've got a new window into the future. So like, what are your goals? Like, what's the next thing you want to accomplish?
Right now it's moving up on the level method.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Really?
Like, well, like what specific? Like what are the things you're targeting? Like, this is the thing I can do next.
I need to work on my push-ups.
Okay. Yeah.
I can do 5.
Yep.
Okay. Like,
you have to get to what, 7 or 10? 7. Okay.
No. I think it's 10.
Okay.
I think it's 10. So I can do 5 really good push-ups, but then I'm out. I'm not. So I haven't done a pull-up yet. I really need to do a pull-up.
You'll get there.
I know I will. But right now my goal is it's upper body stuff.
Okay.
Because
what are the levels that you're the highest in?
I'm black in rowing, which is very random.
Got good power output and can maintain it.
I'm red in my front squat.
Nice, very strong lower body.
What else? My deadlift is red.
Does that blow your freaking mind that you started off at yellow and then within a year went? I mean, so let me just, for anyone who doesn't know what the level method is, it's basically a martial arts belt system. So it goes, there's 32 levels, and then the colors are white, yellow, orange, blue, purple, brown, black, red. Yep. There's 8 total colors. So you came in at level 3 on that 8-level chart. Yep. At yellow, and within a year jumped 5 levels.
Yeah, that's been fun, honestly. But a lot of it, I think when I first started, I think I could have done a whole lot more. Yeah. Like a lot of it is a mind thing. Yeah. Like you just.
Well, if on day one, I was like, we were like, we're going to put 200 on the bar. You'd be like, if you've never lifted 200, that sounds like heavy as shit, you know?
Yeah.
You're like, I can't do that.
But now I'm like, it's just me, you know, like I think I'm at 207 now. So I'm like, oh, I'm just lifting myself. Like, so it's fine. That's what it is. But I think those are my highest right now. It's rowing, my front squat, my deadlift, and weightlifting is purple. And then a lot of others are orange and yellow.
Gotcha. So trying to prove something like the upper body.
Yeah. I want to level out. Like, I'm like really good in some and then like really not in others. Well, I'll say not good. I'm just not as strong.
Yeah. I mean, I find that like everyone's naturally kind of gifted in usually one of these areas.
Yeah.
So some people like will kill the running stuff. They'll be very good at the cardio. Some people just freaking Gumby and they can just do all the flexibility stuff. Yeah. I'm not that human.
Me neither.
Some people are very power oriented, so they do great at the weightlifting stuff. And some people are very strength oriented, so they can go to the strength stuff. Some people have great body weight control and they can do the pull ups and the push ups. And so like, what you find is like that first year is like you start, you get uneven, basically.
Which I very much am.
Yeah, because your body, like the thing that you're naturally gifted at is the thing that you kind of respond and grow the quickest at.
Right.
And then we go, okay, well, I'm trying to even out here. It's going to take a little bit more. It took X effort to get to this on this thing I'm good at. It's going to take X plus some to get to that level in this thing I'm not great at. So then what ends up happening is like you kind of get uneven and then slowly as time.
Move it back in. Because I think my overall level right now is still yellow.
Yeah. Because you have just the one thing that's your lower level. Yeah.
Push-ups.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I just can't remember I don't have the whole thing memorized.
What?
But it's a lot. But I think that the cool thing about that is like now what you need to do.
Yeah.
Like you have it. You can say I have a health and fitness goal.
Right.
Which
I just did double unders. I did 20 double unders in a row.
Dang.
The other day.
That's awesome.
I can't believe I did that because I was like, and I couldn't stop. So I had no idea what to stop because I didn't want to get whipped afterwards. Yeah. So I just kept going.
So I don't know if you've ever heard my story, but like I was a power lifter for a long time and also got pretty heavy and then like went into CrossFit. It was pretty level method.
Right.
Of course I was good at the strength stuff, but I got my ass handed to me and everything else. And like Angie showed me a video of like me with probably in month one, like attempting double unders and just like killing myself, like whipping myself in the face and the butt like all the time. And I think it took me about a year to like get to where I could do consistent double unders.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of slowly got better at them. And so I think I've been doing it for 6 years now, like 22, 2017. Coming up on 6 years. I'm at 5.5 years. But what occurs is like someone who's new will come in and Hoppy or one of us will be doing double unders and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so good at them. Yeah. And they see this gap. It's an interesting concept called the gap in the gain. Mm-hmm. And we tend to kind of focus on the gap between where I am and this thing I want to be or someone else or whatever.
Right.
And like what I have to try to remind that person, I was like, hey, we all had a first week in the gym. Right. We've all had a first month in the gym. Every single person that you're like, man, that person's great at double unders. Sucked at them. Yeah. No one picks up a double jump rope and does double unders amazing the first time. So it, like, and then even internally, oh my God, I just can't seem to like, I can't do 100 double unders or whatever it be. Right. But then that's focusing on the gap. Yeah. Instead of focusing on the gain, it's like, man, 6 years ago you didn't even do one double under. So how far you've come.
Right now, I think my motto is like my goal is progress, not perfection. Right now, because I am a self-proclaimed perfectionist. It's just 1% every day. Yeah. 1% more.
What? So you've got obviously some performance-based goals, and that could be tracked in the gym. But what's something like outside the gym that like your new fitness levels have like made you go, I think I could go do that too.
Oh my gosh, I went rock climbing the other day. I hate heights.
So you go to
High Point?
High Point?
Yeah. Gosh, I hate heights so much.
Did you do like one of the high walls, the 30-foot walls?
I don't know.
Did you go into the room where you're like, holy shit, that's high? So
my brother is really big into rock climbing now, and he was like, hey, you want to go? And I was like, no, but yes, I hate heights so much, but he actually was like, since you started doing like the weightlifting stuff, I kind of want to see where your grip's at and all this, which I was like, well, okay, now you've got me curious. And
I want to know where my grip's at.
Yeah, and it was so fun, but I mean, I never never would have said yes to that unless every single class I go to is just like, I get this pre-workout anxiety where I'm like, okay, 10 seconds. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is not, and you just do it, you're good. You know, you're fine after that. And that's kind of like how it is. And that's definitely translated into my life outside the gym because I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
Just do it. It's going to be fun. I had a blast. I definitely want to go more. Will I go on the higher walls? Probably not yet, but I'm getting there.
I mean, I was like, oh my God, this is way up there.
Yeah, it was wild, but I was able to do it, and like I wasn't absolutely exhausted and like dead afterwards, you know.
Yeah, and a side note, like those little pre-workout jitters don't go away ever. Starting in 10 seconds brings butterflies to every person.
Like I think I black out like
oh God, okay.
Yeah.
No, that
You're
makes
screaming and calling your voice, definitely me.
that's so cool. Because I think people tend to dismiss what we do and kind of say like, yeah, like you're one of those health and fitness people.
Yeah.
That's not me. It's like, I think of it more as like kind of like a hobby.
Yeah.
That's not for me. But what happened was exposing yourself to something new, something uncomfortable, both physically and emotionally and mentally, socially. Mm-hmm. It created a confidence in you that you were then able to apply to other things in life.
Oh yeah.
Which then allows you to expand your life experiences. Mm-hmm. And like that's part of human flourishing. Sitting in the comfort zone of where you currently are is not the way life's meant to be lived.
Right.
The life should be this constant path against that friction point at the front end of it. And that's like gap in the game. It's like, it's never going to be comfortable.
Right.
It's always going to be in this discomfort level. But every once in a while we can take a break and like look behind us and go, holy crap, I just climbed a freaking rock wall.
Yeah.
You know? And not even that, it's like, physically I was able to climb a rock wall. That's really cool.
Yeah, I would not have been able to do that a year ago.
And then
At
mentally, I was able to climb a rock wall,
Yeah.
you know? And then it was like, what other areas do those then get applied to? Well, it's like every little step up that mountain gives you confidence in the next step up the mountain. And that's how you like live a great life and be able to look back and like, yeah, it was a great life.
Right.
Is by like constantly being in that little, this is uncomfortable, but I know I need to do it and just kind of keep pushing.
Right.
So.
It's definitely, because I mean, each workout is wild, I feel like, but I barrel through it. And I come out on the other side. Almost didn't that time I fractured my shin, but we made it.
Yeah, and it's just another testament to you. It's like you had a bigger picture, like you had a bigger why. You can kind of think of if you had a less sound foundation of like why you were doing this,
right.
Then like an injury can throw you off track and say, oh, that ain't like
worth
that.
It.
Yeah. I don't want to do this, but like because you had a bigger why, you were like, you got injured, sucks. I call them boo-boos. If you call them boo-boos, then it kind of takes the power of the injury away. Like one of our clients, Nick, what did he say? He had like a sprained ankle. He was like, Dave, I had this sprained ankle. I go, you got a boo-boo. I was like, you're not in the hospital. You're not in the hospital. You got boo-boo. I understand it hurt a lot.
Yeah.
But like you can train with boo-boos.
Right. You can train with boo-boos.
You can train with boo-boos.
I think that's where a lot of my upper body progress came from.
Right. It's like I can't use this leg.
When I had that boo-boo.
Yeah. But yeah, you had a bigger why, which sent you back.
Right.
It didn't keep you out.
Right. Because I mean, I wasn't doing it to look a certain way or anything. I was doing it for myself, and I'm like, I want that. So yeah.
I love it. All right, final piece. What's advice you would give to someone who was maybe kind of in a similar situation as you? They're kind of maybe struggling a little bit in a relationship, or they're struggling a little bit with their body image, or they recently got like a medical diagnosis. What would you say to someone who's kind of sitting in a little bit dark spot right now?
One, you're not alone. There's tons of people out there that aren't speaking up right now that are probably in that really dark place. But two, you have to just do it, and you have to do it for yourself. I mean, it's not going to stick if you don't do it for yourself. But there are plenty of people who, if they're not there now, like they've been there. I don't know a single person that hasn't had some sort of mountain to climb in their life, and the best advice you can get is from somebody who's been there. Like, don't go to somebody like a peer who's in there with you right now.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna have to go to somebody who's made it out.
Yeah.
And most of the time, for me, it was NBS. Like, I made it to other people. They're all struggling with me,
Yeah.
So you have to choose yourself and just reach out and get that help, and invest in yourself.
I love it. Allie, thanks for coming on the podcast. That was great.
Thanks for having me.
All right, y'all. NBS Fitness Radio out. How awesome is that? I absolutely love Allie's story, and I cannot wait to see her continued transformation. My biggest takeaway from today's podcast was just having a strong and powerful why that's bigger than the stupid scale or how you look. Having a why that's internal and deep, and is really, how is this going to improve you as a person and make you better and improve your life? That's what we need to continue to kind of walk up that mountain, and stay consistent with it. And along those lines, like, if you're in a dark spot, if you are currently in a spot where you don't feel like you're making progress, or maybe you're going backtracking down that mountain, that's what we're here for. We want you to reach out to us. We want to have a conversation with you, learn about your goals, learn about your struggles, and we want to help you. That's what we live for, is helping people on their health and fitness journeys. The way that we can do that is simple. You just go to our website, click the button that says free no sweat intro, fill out the form, and schedule the time. We'll sit down, talk to you, and come up with a plan that's actually going to help you become a better person, and get results just like Allie. We would love to have a conversation with you, so reach out.
Thank you for listening to NBS Fitness Radio. If you enjoyed the podcast, be sure to share it with your friends, follow us on social media, and check out our website at www.nbsfitness.net. Hit the subscribe button and tune in next time for more NBS Fitness Radio.